Hi, how's it going? This is Resident of Colloid for YouTube, and I'm here to do another Dark Shadows video for you guys. This video is about where every character may or may not be. Now, again, this video is purely opinionated, and I'm actually going to add to the Quentin Barnabas thing I've talked about and pitched before. I've got some more to add to that for you guys here today. So, as you guys know, Sam Hall, the writer for Dark Shadows, actually wrote a character synopsis for where each character what may have happened to each character after the series ended, and he wrote it for TV Guide. Beautifully written, by the way. I'm going to try to find that and put a link into the description box. If I find it, you guys will see the link. So, if I can't find the actual written, I'll find the video. The video is still out there. I just saw it. So Sam Hall wrote a character retrospective of where each character might be for TV Guide. Sorry, give me 1 second, guys. My machine here wants something. Gotta give it to it. Sorry about that. But so I'm here to sort of do mine and where I think each character is. And I'm going to do Quentin last for purposes. So let's start with not necessarily just Count Patofe, but the hand of Patofe. Where is that hand? Well, let me tell you where I think the hand isn't. I don't think the hand is in the hand of the gypsies. And yes, I do think the gypsy clans are still out there. I think there are many gypsies out there looking for this damn hand to get it in possession because they get the deep dark feeling that Patofe is somewhere out there. Or maybe the hand will attach itself to somebody and maybe that person will become Patofe. Again, it's a bit iffy because you don't know if we're gonna, again, this is all hypothetical. So please I don't want anyone to think this is a factual video. A lot of it's again, it's hypothetical. It's an opinionated video. I do think the hand of Patofe is out there somewhere. And not somewhere good either. Somewhere where somebody has possession of it and maybe doesn't know quite what it is. It's a severed hand that maybe a collector has or somebody who collects stuff. Now, do I think that Quentin has it? No. Do I think Chris Jennings has it? No. And I do think Chris is out there, and I'll tell you where I think Chris is. And no, I don't think he's with Amy or Sabrina. I think they're long gone. And I'll get to why that is. Here's the thing with the severed hand. I think a cult collector has it. Sort of how like there was an antique shop in Collinsport with the Todds. Remember, there are collectors of the occult. Now, this is sort of reference with Evan Hanley. Evan Hanley is sort of a collector. And so is Quentin. And also, Quentin in Parallel Time is a collector with the whole Judah Zachary thing. Because Carl... sorry. Okay. But I forget which Collins it is brings him the severed head. But played by John Carlin. Brings him the severed head of Judah Zachary. So there are collectors of the occult. So I think the hand of Patofe is with a collector of the occult, and they don't really mess with the hand. They just have it in their collection. It's maybe kept in a very safe vault and guarded. They don't mean to use it. It's just something they admire. And yes, they admire the goddamn hand, so that should tell you how crazy they are. That's where I think the hand is. I think the hand is with a collector of the occult. Now, where that would be, your guess would be as good as mine. Any place would do, really. Uh, I'll tell you the perfect place for it would be New Orleans. Would be Louisiana, really. Louisiana has always had the superstition of voodoo around it, right? So, or, just legends and stuff. So why not have it there? I think a place like Transylvania, Romania would be good, but maybe a little too obvious, a little too ominous. Um, so again, I think the hand is with, and yes, so this is how deep this is going to be, this dive. The hand is with an occult collector. Um, so where is, I'm trying to think of each character. Where is Willie Loomis? What happened with Willie Loomis? I think Willie settled down with his girlfriend and had kids. I do. I think that would be one of the best tributes you could give the late great John Carlin. Is that Willie Loomis did have a family and lived happily ever after. But in some ways, he never forgot the events of Collinsport. His and here's the thing: his wife would know everything. Now, obviously, with each of these characters, you don't have to reveal this right away in a series. This is just something you could reveal later on or down the road to have more material. So again, this is a deep dive. So John Carlin, Willie Loomis. No, John Carlin's on my mind now. Willie Loomis, the character of Willie Loomis, would would have gotten married, had kids, and his kids would be all grown up and getting ready to have kids on their own. And the kids who were getting ready to have kids of their own, would be talking about their father, who, in his old age, has sort of become more and more talkative about this man who was a vampire, and his name was Barnabas. Again, because even in age causes us to slip, right? In the mental state of, so they're not sure if he's telling them something legit or if he's just going through Alzheimer's. So they're sort of going back and forth. Now, where would Willie be living? In the greater state of New York. I would have him live in New York City, right in the heart of it, actually. So New York City, somewhere in New York, is where Willie Loomis would be living. Again, he would be retired. He'd be living in Queens, maybe, just a nice house. So again, just, good home. Beautiful family. And again, the kids who are getting ready to have kids of their own are sort of wondering, is dad crazy or what? They're not sure. They're not sure. They didn't know about his life in Collinsport, and his wife, who he told, was never really, she somewhat believed him, but when you start mentioning the word vampire, even she sort of gets sort of like, I don't know, even in her old age. So again, that's something you could do with that character. Now, where is Dr. Julie Hoffman, and is she with Barnabas? Are they in Singapore? Now, that's something that a friend of mine, not that, okay, Sam Hall wrote that Julia Hoffman and Barnabas were in Singapore, got married. I love the fact that John Philip Betancourt, in a very tributed way, paid tribute to writer Sam Hall, and using that in his story where they were in Singapore and they adopted. I love that. I think that is a beautiful tribute to a fabulous writer, and I love that John did that. Very beautiful job. So, do I think they're together? Yes. Do I think they're in Singapore? No. I think, honestly, They are in Europe. And I'll tell you why I say Europe. I think that John, here's, remember, Barnabas Collins claimed to be from England, a cousin from England. I think to sort of retrace not just his roots, but his family roots, he did take Julia with him. I do think they're together, but I think they went to London. They toured Europe, sort of. And I think Barnabas passed away prior to Dr. Hoffman. I think Barnabas was the first to go. And I think Dr. Hoffman had, again, this is going to fit into Quentin, kept samples of Barnabas's vampire DNA, never using it, mind you, and gave it to Quentin, and told him where Barnabas was buried in London. Exactly. And I think they lived in the countryside, just like Barnabas has talked about this Nigel. I don't think there honestly, wasn't, there was a Nigel, but again, 100 and some years. But I think they did live in the London countryside so as not to be disturbed by the public too much. They did go out in public places, obviously, and tour the world, sort of, tour Europe and the world. But eventually, time catches up with everybody, and it caught up with them, and they retired. Did they fall in love? I think they loved I think they grew to love each other. That's the one thing I would agree with most. Because I think by the end of the day, you could certainly say that Barnabas could appreciate Julia to love her, and I think Julia definitely loved Barnabas. Who knows? She tried to poison him at one point in time. Where is Carolyn? Do I think Carolyn became obsessed with the occult? This is actually going to fit in with that occult collector a bit. So I think that Carolyn did become obsessed with the occult to the point that she would be the occult collector that collects the hand epitophe, collects all these things. Maybe she's living in New Orleans. Maybe she's not exactly living in Collinsport. Maybe she is living in Collinsport and has these things, and no one knows it. Maybe she has them in the mausoleum, the secret room. You never know, right? Maybe she has them in another place we just don't know about. Again, I think Carolyn could be that person who collects these things from the occult because she's become so obsessed with finding Jeb, who she feels is still alive. Is Jeb Hawks, speaking of the devil, is Jeb Hawks alive? The late, great Christopher Peanock, right? God. No. But Carolyn can't let it go. Yeah, she has kids now, but she still thinks about that man who she once loved. Again, I'm not saying she wouldn't have moved on and had kids. I'm just saying she never forgot about Jeb. That's why she has the collection. So Carolyn is your collector. Now, where is David Collins? David Collins is the one running the family business. That I agree with very much. He married and had a family and has kids of her own. So Carolyn and David are living in the great house. Where is Chris Jennings? Okay. Keep in mind that Chris is a descendant of Quentin. So any potential kid that Chris might have, or even Amy, could end up becoming the werewolf. Amy realizes this because Chris isn't going to keep it from her. Amy and Chris were very close. Amy chooses not to have any kids and dies of old age. she's not going to let the werewolf curse continue at this point. Leaving, you know, so Amy and Sabrina die of old age. Chris can't die of old age. He's a werewolf. So Chris is somewhere where, now hear me out on this because this is going to be a bit controversial. Chris is somewhere where, you know, a werewolf or someone turning into a werewolf really doesn't go noticed because there's other shit going on, maybe like a war. And I'm not trying to use maybe Afghanistan for a purpose, but maybe a country that is constantly at war in the Middle East. So somewhere where there's constantly war and sort of oppression going on, and Chris is sort of caught in the middle of that. That's where he's stuck at. And he's sort of trying to help people who need help. Whether it's medical or not, he tries to get people to doctors. He's sort of he's by himself, and you know, finally, he's getting sort of tired of these terrorists doing this, and he meets one. He wants to speak to the leader, and they sort of just, you know, treat him as a joke because they don't know what he is. And yes, my beard is gray, so I'm getting old. I see gray in my beard. It's a beautiful color, John. Yeah, I'm getting old. Anyway, so Chris is meeting this person, and it's at night, and the moon is getting ready to be full, and you know where this is going, I think. Chris has never wanted to kill somebody so bad, and he meets this terrorist leader, and he changes, and he kills the terrorist. And I think Chris maybe has found a purpose for the werewolf to sort of fight and combat the evil of the world a bit. So Chris is out there somewhere. I don't think he's in America because America would be too restricted. Somebody in the United States would notice a werewolf, okay? Where in the Middle East, if you're out there somewhere, you know, in the middle of a war, they're not going to really pay attention to a furry creature howling at the goddamn moon because they're too worried about getting blown up. So, again, that's controversial, but again, that's where I would put him. Now, Quentin. Oh, wait. Elliot Stokes. T. Elliot Stokes has a lot of things named after him. Schools, libraries. He is one of the most accomplished professors in Collinsport, and a lot of things are named after him. And that is how you remember him. He's not alive, obviously, but he's one of the most talked about professors ever in town, in the state of Maine, hell, in the country. Because to me, that's the best way you can pay tribute to that character. Is Tony Peterson alive? Yes. Yes, he is. Tony Peterson is a consultant for police. He's a police consultant. He's become a police consultant for the state of Maine, and he doesn't necessarily reside in Collinsport anymore because he's getting paid too good. So he's out there somewhere. Trying to think of every character. Mrs. Johnson. Where's Mrs. Johnson? Mrs. Johnson. What we learned about Mrs. Johnson, and this is the best thing you could do in this series, that Mrs. Johnson was just a cover name. And Mrs. Johnson actually worked for the CIA. I would. I'm serious. How could you not at this point? Like, that woman was a spy. That woman was born to be a spy, and I literally would do this. I would. And so Mrs. Johnson, the Mrs. Johnson we know is her. We call her Mrs. Johnson, but we never know her real name. So that's where Mrs. Johnson has passed away, but we never knew her real name. And whoever comes to Collinsport from this next time was maybe trained by her, maybe a group of people who were trained by her. She trained people to be spies. That would be cool. That's just my little fun way of paying tribute to Clarice Blackburn. Because let's face it, Mrs. Johnson was the best spy ever. Um, ever. That's my little fun way of paying tribute to the actress who played her. Um, so where would Quentin be? I sort of touched upon this, and if you've heard this before, I apologize, but I've added to this. So Quentin would be a freelance photographer. This is the add-on. He would run his own photography studio. This is how he's keeping an eye on the Collins kids. He's taking pictures of them, and he takes pictures around town in the state of Maine. He's freelance. He works for himself, so he doesn't have to report to anybody and do this. And mostly people pay him no mind. They don't even know who he is because he's going under an assumed name, and he's going under the assumed name of Marcus Hampton. And Marcus Hampton, is the name he's using. It's the furthest thing from Quentin. It's something that he, it's a name he uses until Quentin is taking a picture of one of the Collins kids. Maybe it's the boy, and it's a friend of his, and they're doing something fun, but something happens. Not necessarily tragic, but a sign that something is coming. And that's how Quentin knows something is coming. And it's not the Collins kid who sees him, it's the other kid, and the two kids chase him, and he gets away because he knows the town of Collinsport. He's not faster than them. They're way faster than him. But he barely gets away from them. And he's thinking, oh my God, something's coming. And I can't let these kids know who I quite am. But they need my help. They need help. And, and again, you guys have heard the second part before, but Quentin would know where Barnabas is buried. Quentin would have in a secret refrigerator compartment the blood of the vampire blood of Barnabas Collins in a vial marked B. Collins. He would go to London, go to where Barnabas is buried, open the coffin. It would be under a crypt, obviously. And Quentin would know how to get in there because he was told by Julia. They did this on purpose because they never knew what was going to happen. Julia herself was even wary of Collinsport, Maine. And maybe you could leeway to that where he's reading. That's why sort of Quentin sticks around. Quentin is more sticking around to make sure the peace is being kept, and everything looks okay on the surface, but then things aren't looking so okay, and things are starting to look real peculiar. Something happens that causes Quentin to like, oh shit. So he goes to where Barnabas is buried, like I said, takes the vial of blood. He opens the coffin, and there, my friends, are the skeletal remains of one Barnabas Collins. He looks at the vial of blood. He looks at the skeletal wounds. He doesn't really want to do it, but he knows he needs to. He knows these kids need help. And he knows the one person, time and time again, that has always been there for the Collins family, that has been through more shit than anyone, has been Barnabas himself, and defied the odds. And he tells him, we need you, old man. We need you now more than we've ever needed you. Pops the lid, dumps the blood on the mouth. And you start to see the skin regenerate. The onyx ring is already on him, obviously. And Barnabas is back. And that's where I would go, that Barnabas does eventually arrive. Not right away. You wouldn't see him the next night or no. They have to establish that this guy's been alive. And so he and Quentin begin to do that. begin to establish an actual existence of Barnabas living somewhere, whether it's England, France, or anywhere else. That Barnabas does have descendants, because you can't ignore technology these days and Google. Okay, so that's something I would make sure that they would do. I'm trying to think if there's anybody I missed. Roger would be passed away, obviously. So would Elizabeth. Trying to think. Oh God, I'm sure I'm missing somebody, and I'm going to think of them when this video ends. Angelique. Angelique would be brought back the moment Barnabas becomes a vampire again, because she put the curse on him. And she sort of is mad about this at first. She smacks Quentin and Barnabas both. What the hell were you two thinking? And then Angelique sees it herself and, like, wait, something is off here. And she's not even sure what. Not really. And it sort of frightens her a bit. So I think, again, there's something you could have. Because if you bring Barnabas back, automatically Angelique comes back. She's a witch again. That's sort of the consequence of the blood. And Angelique can even say, God damn you, I died for you. I risked everything for you both. And that's why she's sort of mad. You know, hey, I did do the right thing. And she's sort of mad, but, you know, again, it would be a perfect reconciliation. Patrick sort of talked about this in his book. Well, not sort of, he did. It would be a perfect reconciliation opportunity for Barnabas and Angelique. And I think that's something you could do. Again, though, too, you need time. It can't just be done right away. So, I'm trying to think, again, I'm trying to get everybody. Joe Haskell, Joe and Maggie. Joe and Maggie returned to Collinsport from Wincliffe, married under different names. They're married. They're posing as a married couple. Well, they're actually married, and no one knows it's Maggie and Joe. They don't live in the cottage, because that would be too obvious. They live maybe in Nicholas Blair's old home. So that's something they could do. Now, I'm trying to think if there's anybody else. I don't believe so. I mean, George Patterson could have kids, you know, maybe. So I hope this was deep enough for you guys. I hope you guys enjoyed this video. I tried to get everybody. I think I did. I may have. I'm sure I missed somebody. Oh yes. Burke. Is Burke alive or dead? Burke is not dead to me. Now, to me, I want to stress this again because this is an opinionated video. Burke is not dead. No, I think he's alive in the Amazon jungle, and he has forgotten who he is, and that's why we've never seen him again. Now, you don't have to explain that. That's something you could theorize all by yourself, really. So I honestly think Burke is alive. I don't think he's dead. That's just my opinion. All right, guys, I got everybody, I think. Stop. Oh gosh. I hope you guys enjoyed this video. I hope you guys comment. You know, what's your thoughts about all this? Let me know. So I hope you guys have a great day, and I'll see you probably tomorrow. All right, bye.